I'm Asara from Roosevelt. Here we're entering Mr. Colin Walsh, who's running for District 2. Um, so, yeah, let's get started. So, first question, what makes you the best candidate for District 2?
Well, there's, certainly other good candidates in District 2, but what really sets me apart is two things, experience and independence. I have been involved in Davis politics going back into the 90s or even in the 80s. When I was involved at Davis High, I was the student body president. And even then, I was involved with going to the school board and advocating for student issues. Most recently, I'm a tree commissioner and regularly write articles about things that happen in the city and do a lot of analysis about the city. But so I have years and years of experience, but I also have deep professional experience, working as a consultant in litigation for 16 years at one company and then a year at another company, that, requires incredible attention to detail and the ability to listen. And I think listening is one of the biggest things that our council has to be able to do, is to be able to hear and amalgamate many opinions from the diverse population of Davis. So experience and independence. Literally one of my opponents is running on, I'm backed by all the other people on the council, so I will be just another voice. He'll be just another voice like the rest of the council, where I have a different point of view and I'm more likely to listen to the community, frankly.
So, your background, growing up in Davis, coming to UC Davis to study art, living in a host of other cities, how do you feel like that? Do you feel like your background, being from Davis, growing up here, graduating from Davis High, do you feel like that gives you more of a connection to the community?
Oh, it definitely does. And it's been so cool to be campaigning and talking to people. I just had this great correspondence with my junior high counselor, Sandy Wheatman, who's endorsing me in this election. And I was not a great junior high student at all, and so she was someone who really instilled a lot of confidence in me while I was in junior high. And so to have it come full circle now, all this time later, and have her, have this great conversation with her, it's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I've seen Davis grow and change over many years, and I've seen lots of different ways that it can be. And I've come to Davis in lots of different ways. I've been a kid here. I've been a high school student here. I've been a UCD student. I've been a young professional here. And then I've also been, a father, or, a parent probably is a better word, playing an active role with my kids in the schools. And I've been a homeowner, I've been a renter. So I get to see it, I have a lot of different perspectives just from my own life that I can draw on. But I also have I just know a lot of people in the community. And so I have a lot of folks that I can talk to. So, and that shows, like in the volunteers working on my campaign, there's people that I've known for 1 year, and there's people I've known for 30 to 40 years helping me work on the campaign. And, honestly, to help prepare to interview today, I made a point of spending time talking with some high school students and junior college students who are volunteering on the campaign, and then other friends that are, in the sort of youth demographic, so that I could, the people I talk to anyway, but I really wanted to make a point of hearing their opinions before talking today.
All right. So, this election, Davis has switched to the new district election system where there are 5 districts, which is not previously done before. What are your thoughts on that new system?
Well, so I think anyone who serves on the council needs to work for the best interest of the whole city. You might be elected from one district, but really, our cities, there's no imaginary line down Oak that separates, one side of the street from the other in terms of their interests. So we're going to need to work together for the better of the whole city. I will say, as a candidate, especially a challenger to an incumbent, it's nice to run in a district because it's allowed me to walk the district, and with my volunteers, we've gotten to, every house in the district. And it makes it much easier to talk and communicate with people, and much easier to listen to the folks within the district. There's just more time available to spend listening to people.
All right. So District 2 is mainly central West Davis, I believe. So there's a measure on the ballot, Measure B, which doesn't directly affect your district, District 2, but do you support Measure B?
Well, I guess first I'd say it does directly affect all of Davis. It may be located on the east side of town, but the impacts will be felt throughout the city, especially in the downtown. Putting in a million square feet of office space, a new 100,000 square feet of commercial space, will draw businesses out of the downtown to the edge of Davis. The EIR for the project predicts over 300,000 square feet of vacant commercial space in Central Davis if this project's built, and that space will have been caused by businesses moving out of Central Davis to the periphery of town. That is a very significant impact to our downtown, and will have a real negative impact on our downtown businesses. And that's why there's a group of businesses that have organized to oppose it. They see it as being detrimental to their businesses. So while I've been out walking and talking to and listening to folks in District 2, one of their key concerns is what's going to happen with our downtown. I mean, Davis is lucky to have as vibrant a downtown as we have. I've traveled all across the country, and I've seen these places where business parks and Walmarts are built on the periphery, and the downtowns look, they're vacant. The buildings are empty, the storefronts are boarded up. And so we are lucky that we've avoided that up till now by focusing on our downtown. But by approving Measure B, we risk our downtown. So that's one of the top reasons why I oppose it. The other reason I oppose it, there's several good reasons to oppose it, but one of the other top reasons I oppose it is its impact on the climate. It would increase the carbon footprint of Davis by 8%. It completely throws off any possibility of reaching our carbon neutrality goals that the City Council has set out. Just the traffic, you might see the ads and they say green jobs, and they say things like, oh, the buildings are 100% renewable energy, but because of where it's located in the Sacramento region, it is a commuter business park, and the vehicle miles traveled to get there will be some of the highest for any location in the whole region. And that's going to have a traffic impact too, 24,000 additional cars on Mesa Boulevard. But that climate impact is not something that Davis should be doing. There's better things we can do. I've advocated for reduced sized infill projects. We have open space throughout the city. I mean, if you look just in the downtown, there's the Hibbert Lumber Yard, there's the old Ace Hardware building, there's where Whole Foods is, there's all, and then there's vacant and for rent signs all over the place right now for commercial property. We need to focus on filling what we already have, because if you think about reduce, reuse, recycle, well, this is the reuse part, right? That is the best environmental decision you can make. And when you reuse these existing structures, you're also using the sewage lines, the water lines, the roads that get there. And then there's this even greater thing, right? Those all happen to be in central, more centrally located in the city. So people are more likely to be able to take the bus, to ride their bikes, and to use active transportation to get to the jobs that would be created. So it will have a significantly lower carbon impact. Building new buildings in green fields is always sort of should be our last choice for how to build. We want to build in infill first, in my opinion. So I'm very much opposed to Measure B.
Okay. So now we're going to go on to the subject of police reform. So do you think that the Davis Police Department needs more transparency and accountability? And if so, what would you propose?
Well, I'm a huge advocate for transparency and accountability. I think that that's true throughout our city government, and certainly true for our police department. Our police department has made strides to be more transparent and accountable. And when you look at the scope of police departments across the country, I guess I lived in New York in the late 1990s, early 2000s, which might seem like a while ago. But the things like George Floyd were happening then in New York while I lived there. There was an individual, Amador Diallo, who was shot 19 times in the doorway to his home, and there were 45 gunshots, and there was no real reason to shoot him. And so this is something I've long been aware of, and it is a real issue nationally, but it doesn't always directly translate to the city of Davis. That said, we have to do the best we can. So, and we always have to be growing and changing and doing better. And there is room for doing better within Davis. So my approach to this type of thing is it has to come with community involvement and community input. So it's not so much that I have, this overarching specific plan of these are the 3 steps to fix the police department, because I don't think it's that simple. I think that we have to really analyze the current situation and what's working, what's not working. And to do that, we need involvement and buy-in from the police. But we also need the involvement and buy-in from our commissions, like the Social Services Commission and the Police and Accountability Commission, and the Human Relations Commission. But beyond that, we also need involvement within our community, especially underrepresented parts of the community that are having these interactions with the police, that are having interactions with the police on a regular basis, because their opinion matters and really counts for this too. So I do have a certain respect for the police. They're who we call on some of the worst and scariest moments of our lives. But that doesn't give them license to treat people badly or treat people unfairly.
So I guess on the back of that, what actions are you willing to take to promote anti-racism in Davis, which is a town with a significantly higher white demographic than many other towns of our size?
Yeah, it is. And it's something I'm keenly aware of, having grown up here. I'll tell you, coming out of Davis High, I would say that my understanding of race, when I was 18, coming out of Davis High, was pretty myopic. And it wasn't until I lived in immersive environments in Chicago and New York and LA but more than that, studied and actually spent time taking classes like African American Studies classes, which I took several of in college, that I started to understand other perspectives, but also talking to and listening to frankly, to people who were members of the Black Student Association at my college in Chicago. They educated me tremendously. So what am I willing to do in Davis? Well, as a council member, I think one of the first and most important things is to get representation on our commissions. We need to do a better job of advertising those commission positions. Right now, you sort of get a certain set of folks who are involved. Not to knock them, they're very qualified people. There's a lot of great folks, but I'd like to see more young people involved in our commission system, and I'd like to see a wider variety of people, involved in these commissions as well. So I think if you look at the commissions, you're going to see that they're almost all homeowners, for example, and generally over 40. So how about some young renters on there? And with that comes the diversity issues as well. Mm-hmm. So that's an easy one. I think with every decision that the council makes, there's certain things that need to be considered. I think the environment is something that needs to be considered. with every decision. I think that public health is something that needs to be considered with every decision. But I think that being an inclusive city needs to be considered as well. You know, I'm coming to this knowing too that Davis has a real history where there was uh, the contracts that people signed to buy homes, you know, in the 1940s in Davis specifically excluded people of color. I mean, Davis has a specific segregated history to wrestle with, and there's ways that we've made a lot of progress, but there's more that we can do.
Okay. So now I have a question about coronavirus. So obviously the state of California is obviously Yellow County. We're moving into the red tier. But I think, do you feel like as a college town and as a town, do we need more COVID restrictions placed upon the community?
You know, I think Davis has been a pretty decent example, partly because people have been compliant with the restrictions that are here. I've been following what the university's been doing, and some people were predicting huge surges when students returned. And so far, I don't think there's huge surges that are attributable to the return of students. So that's pretty uh, pretty good place to start. I I am concerned of the impacts that this has had on our local businesses as well. So we have to walk the line of restricting in a way that's meaningful and helps the public health, but also not while doing as little damage to our businesses as possible. Now, I would also add to that, though, and this isn't in the direct line of what the city council does exactly, but as the parent to two kids, I see what distance learning, how distance learning has changed education for my kids, and I am very concerned for the impact on mental health of that isolation has. So I would like to see kids being and young people being able to interact in as much as possible while keeping things as safe as possible. I know that that's been something that's been very important, for my kids.
Okay, on the topic of youth, statistics show that young voters ages 18 to 24, they're actually the least active voting group in the nation, especially in front of a historic election as our 2020 election. Why do you think that is?
Well, I've had conversations with volunteers on the campaign and other friends that fit into that demographic, and I've heard a range of opinions. One friend and volunteer on the campaign says that she sometimes is worried that her opinion is outside of what other folks in Davis think, and so she's not always as comfortable expressing it, and that she's that even up to secret voting, she's not as comfortable doing that. Another person that I talked to expressed that the issues just don't seem like they're as relevant sometimes for folks in that demographic, that it seems like, oh, it's about taxes, and the taxes might, they don't pay taxes, or their taxes are so minimal that they don't have to file, that they don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of all the issues, or they don't understand why it impacts them. And then another person I talked to said that they've voted every election they possibly could, and that's incredibly important to them. And another person I talked to expressed deep concern for climate change, that they want their peers to vote because they're so worried about what's happening to the planet, and that we have to make they have to make an impact at every level, and because it is something that impacts people of that demographic far more than people like myself. because they have another 30 years to live beyond what I might live. So so I guess my opinion is based around listening to other people. So I would encourage everybody to vote. And for students that are in Davis, I would say, it is important to participate in Davis's democracy. You may have come from another town and maybe you want to vote in your hometown because you have an attachment there. But if you vote in Davis, I think it's great, because while you're only here, while that student may only be here for a couple of years, they represent a student that will be coming after them as well. And their interests are like the student's interests who comes behind them. So it is important that they participate and that they vote. And, and by participate, I come to city council meetings if you can, come to commission meetings, write a letter occasionally. But I understand people are busy, so at least try to vote. Yeah.
All right. So, as a senior in high school, I feel like there's a large, divide between local politics and students here. If you are elected, how will you work to incorporate and inform the youth in any decisions you make as a city council?
That's a good question. I really appreciate that question, because it's the kind of question that makes me think, and it's the kind of question that can help. That when you ask that type of question, it helps people who might be elected be better leaders, and it actually shows a lot of leadership on your part, because you're thinking about how to make things better too, by asking that. And so what I would say is that I would love to have folks. So after being elected, if I were to be elected, there will be, people who support me while I'm in office, who are helping mull over policies as they come forward. And I would love to have, I'd love to have the voices of folks who are in high school included within that. The other thing is, I think it makes a lot of sense to spend time reaching out to especially seniors, juniors, folks in high school, to talk with them so that we can hear and listen what their concerns are. So I guess I personally would want to meet with student leaders and others to learn more about what their thoughts are. And then, it can be a two-way conversation. I'm certainly happy to share, but I always want to emphasize that listening is important, because I find that high school students know quite a lot. And if you ask the right questions and then listen and really let them share without, sometimes folks who are older think they know so much that they don't need to listen to people who are in high school. Well, I think they're wrong. I think that people in high school have a lot to say. So I would say that listening is probably the most important thing. And so finding the informal avenues that I've talked about, but I think that it would make sense if there were more formal avenues as well. If there was representation from the high school into the commission system, or if folks from the different high schools in Davis wanted to come to council meetings, that there may be some good opportunities for them to speak and be treated with a little extra respect as leaders from the high school, or the multiple high schools.
Mm-hmm. All right, that is all the questions I have for you today. Do you have a parting message to anyone that may be watching this?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is, I would love to have your vote for city council, but even if you're not going to vote for me, please do vote, and you vote on everything you can. But it's part of a process over your whole life. So building that instinct for researching the different people in the different positions, there's no better time to start than now. And I think that what Rock the Boat in Davis is doing is just fantastic, and I really appreciate the organization for reaching out and interviewing me. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And I think we have the same goal, which is promoting democracy and participation. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you so much.